Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I have a very special one for you. I've had this game in the back of my mind for probably around 2 years. It's been around that time as well since I made my last video on this series, and even longer before my deleted video that I made on this series. So I think it's finally time that I cover the sequel. It's interesting, to say the least, and I think you guys are in for one wild ride. So, you know, sit back, relax, get some popcorn, because this is gonna be probably a long video. But just a fair warning before you start up this video, there will be some content in this video that will go over some pretty nasty topics such as mental health, abuse, suicide. So if that's not really your cup of tea, I would suggest moving forward until one of my next releases in the year 2034. So yeah, just a little content warning there for you. With all that out of the way though, sit tight, strap in, because this is milk outside of a bag of milk, outside of a bag of milk. Opening the game, you'll be greeted with a lovely animation of the scene from the first game where you pick up some milk inside of another bag, of course. If you haven't seen or played the last game, it essentially takes place in this sort of distorted reality where you are sort of a voice inside of a little girl's head. Age unknown, name unknown, this girl wanders through her town to find the convenience store to pick up a bag of milk. Throughout this journey though, she encounters a lot of hardships and deals with a lot of trauma. And by a lot of trauma, I mean a lot of trauma. You basically glimpse inside of this girl's mind and see what she's thinking and what she's feeling at all times. And this was really upsetting because you saw her emotional struggles and her ups and downs. It was really just a journey back then when I first played it. And I'm so excited to share this new game with you that came out, I believe in 2022 or 2023, so fairly recently, but definitely been a while. Jumping forward though into game numero dos, Milk-chan has found her way to her apartment with the bag of milk secured and is now at the front door. Hesitant to open it, her memories flash before her eyes. Memories of dreaded feelings and past traumas. And that's where the game starts. When I click this button, we're into a whole nother game. Eyes dart out from every corner. Terror personified grips you with cold, icy hands. Just playful shadows, nothing more. Nothing to pay too close attention to. Besides, we're in a rush to get to bed. She then walks past the kitchen, noting that there's a little bit of a weird, chilling air coming from the other side of the door. Maybe it's a corpse on the other side, taunting her, laughing mockingly. She's sure there's nothing there, but what if? That nagging thought hangs in the back of her mind as she breaks into a full sprint. Are the shadows trying to help me or hinder me? Whatever their intention is, it doesn't matter right now. All that matters is that I have to get away. I have to break down the door. Without another thought, my shoulder hits the door and it flies open. I should also read the dialogue probably. As you can tell, that part kinda shocked me. I wasn't really expecting the face to pop up in front of my screen, but Yeah, really super duper good atmosphere at this part. Probably the best I've seen in a while from any horror experience. It's really like unmatched, the like dread you feel at these first few dialogue options. Back into the story, and there is not a corpse. I repeat, there is not a corpse on the other side of the door, but instead a lonely bag of milk sitting on the table. Turning away, she leaves the room in a hurry. She walks down through the narrow corridor. It's the mom. Her mother appears as a familiar, formless creature, terrifying and ravenous. Viewing someone like this who's supposed to love you unconditionally and treat you with respect just puts a sour taste in my mouth and makes me wonder about what kind of things have happened in the past and what kind of abuse continues to happen regularly. "Don't move," the creature says, and squeezes my hands until the veins start bulging. I just keep staring into the black pits that are supposed to be where her eyes are. "Stay put." The moment it says that, it pierces me with its claw, digging underneath my skin. It then injects its venom. I can't even fathom what kind of abuse would make the recipient think of this horror that is appearing right in front of them. That's constantly endless and uncontrollable. It's nightmarish. As the poison starts to creep into her veins, she starts to heat up and foam at the mouth. There won't be any escape for her. This is her fate. Screams fill the sound in every empty corridor. Suddenly, the lights go out. The mom then forces Milk-chan to utter the phrase, "I'll never drink milk ever again." After she finally shouts the phrase at the behest of the mother, it fades back in to a different scene. Finally in her room, away from all the fuss, it's time to go to bed. There once was a time where bedtime was actually something that she looks forward to, but one by one the dreams were snatched from her head, like some sort of thief stole them. It's clear she doesn't hold the same passion for life that she once did, and it's a sad sight to see. After brushing her teeth, it's time to take the pills. And the next preceding scene is probably the most disgusting description of a pill I have ever seen, heard, read in my life. It makes me never want to take a pill ever again, if I'm being completely honest. It really opens my eyes to see how this girl actually views taking her medicine. She doesn't view it as, taking something that's gonna help her get it better. It's kind of viewing it as like drinking poison or eating disgusting soiled meat. It's really unfortunate. One by one, she throws each pill away. Filthy, finding some reason to do so. And I can't lie, if I was in her situation, I might be doing the same. Even though I do not, under any circumstances, condone throwing away your medication. Always take what you're prescribed, if you believe it's helping you. Making up a fake medication to take instead. I wonder what kind of medication is going to be the most useful here. Hey. We are greeted again. This time, not as a spectator, but as a companion. We've all been here before. This time though, the objective is a little bit different. As we continue throughout the dialogue options, she claims that she couldn't possibly need us. She feels great, and there's nothing we can do to stop her. In reality, though, this is just a lie, and she's actually suffering in silence. She starts to lose control sometime shortly after. She can't handle the weight of not being in control, of her life, of her decisions, but she's gotten used to it. She doesn't clearly express these emotions, but it's easy to read on her face and the way that she acts that it's the truth. Alright, 10 minutes through now. How we feeling? Doing good? Alright, let's keep going. Again, she's constantly bothered by visions and noises that seemingly come from thin air. These psychosomatic symptoms are really commonplace for her, unfortunately. She uses these little distractions, these little vices to help her through the day. She thought she was ready to finally take control. She thought she was getting better. Maybe she can finally start to fight it on her own, but in reality, that's not really how things work out. Now, there's only one other option. Dejected, she reaches out for the shelf with the medicine and swallows one after another, each pill. Her mind drifts back to the analogy of the thick red liquid that is held within the capsule, equating it to coagulated blood and a transparent coating. Finally, it's over now, and she can rest easy. Well, as easy as she can. After a while of short banter back and forth, she says she needs to get her thoughts in order. Alright, just a little bit longer. We're almost to the part of the game where we can actually, interact with things and play the actual game. We go through this sequence where we try and set up a picture of her thoughts to visualize them in the way that she wants to. We try cockroaches, little tiny cockroaches skittering about, maybe fireflies. Yeah, the visuals are like a lot more dynamic, which is I really appreciate. Her thoughts begin to manifest around her like buzzing, glowing fireflies. After a while, she starts to lose patience with the flapping, buzzing wings and shoos them off. After that, we get to see her room in all of its entirety, messy and unkept with various items strewn about. Sorta weird to have a sink in your room, but I digress. After choosing to reassure her on her previous mental state, we then urge her to collect her thoughts once again. Unfortunately, they seem to be hiding somewhere, and it's up to us to find them. It looks like it's already so late, but we can't go to bed just yet, not with all of our thoughts scattered like this. Now, the next scene that plays caught me wildly off guard. And not really because of its nature, but just because of its suddenness. I wasn't really expecting it, choosing the option that I chose. If you choose the dialogue option, that's the thing, I have no idea, this is weird. After she says, "What do you mean? You should know it better than anyone else." A sequence will play that's known as the first death, and it'll be important later on. Essentially, the first death serves as a glimpse into Milk Chan's mind, her torment, her psyche, what she has to go through every single day. Almost as if how she perceives this world as a reddish, pinkish hellscape. What kind of torment she must endure for this to be hiding in her mind. For these visions to be what's truly behind the mask. And I'm not trying to be satirical when I say this is truly horrifying. Here, drink some milk. Get back to your senses. Just like that, the nightmare ends. Or it's just begun. Take your pick. Like nothing ever happened, let's go catch fireflies. Yay! Woo! Yippee! Despite everything that's happened already, gathering our thoughts is still the top priority, and we have no idea where to start. Suddenly, she has an idea. In Milk Inside a Bag of Milk, we became a visual novel character to help Milk Chan retrieve milk from the grocery store. This time though, things are switched up. Instead of following your standard visual novel, we're going to be playing a point-and-click game. It's in this mode of game where the majority of the gameplay is going to take place. And of course, we'll be the ones doing all the heavy lifting. We don't have to look far though, as one is hiding right underneath our noses. There it is, the miniature living fireball. Remember, these fireflies are our shattered thoughts from our once collective mind. It's time to return to your rightful place. Now let's go look for the others. This is where the pointing and clicking begins, and where the meat of the game takes place. If you notice in the bottom left corner, you'll see a pile of different objects that can't be interacted with like everything else that glows. In the game files, these glitchy objects are actually labeled as milk cartons. To me, this represents an area that Milk-chan wants to disassociate with, making it glitchy and uninteractable. Now, depending on the order you click the items in, you'll end up getting different endings, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. For now, I'm just going to walk you through the standard process I went through when I first played through the game. Now, the first interactable item I want to take a look at are the photos or papers attached to the wall on the far right. It's a small detail, but it serves to highlight Milk-chan's isolation, her failing memory. She explains how these photographs once contained her best memories, but now they're blank, only used to cover up the cracks in the wall. The next one I'm going to highlight are the pill bottles on the sink. The pill bottles are one of the items that contain a firefly. You can look at them as a key item, or a core memory. You can look at the pill bottles as core memory number 1. It gives Milk-chan discomfort and unease. It's something she unwillingly abides to every day. In a way, it's a part of her identity, but not by choice. Even if it's a little chunk of hope to hold on to, at least it's something. The firefly is eager to join the collective. It relies on the promptness and the reliability. The next item that requires our attention is the backpack. An inconspicuous item at first glance, but it actually highlights a few good key details. Firstly, Milk-chan went to school at some point. At first it seems like it was a rather enriching experience for her, but when you begin to peel back the layers and bug her a few times, the truth begins to unravel. After a while it becomes clear that Milk-chan has desperately tried to block out this memory, suppressing it in the back of her mind. It's a hard pill to swallow, metaphorically that is. Her psyche begins degrading further and further the more she tells the story. It's clear remembering is painful. We all have memories we'd rather forget. And this one's like picking at a deep wound that just recently healed. Ooh, sweet, an achievement. And would you look at that, another firefly. I'm sure you've noticed by now, every firefly is attached to an important life event or important memory that Milk-chan has. It looks like this firefly is sad, which could only confirm our previous assumption. Next, let's talk about the sketchbook. You are so... It seems like Milk-chan suffers from a very severe case of artist's angst, which I can very much relate to. Especially when your privacy gets yanked out from underneath you. It can be very disorienting and very anxiety-inducing. Aside from all that, it seems like Milk-chan is anxious to experience the past. Everything back there should stay as is. But sometimes it's better to work on those past issues instead of burying them down. You might even find something new, something worthwhile. And it looks like we just found another firefly. It seems scared, almost anxious. Regardless, it seems ready to find its new home. Alright, this next item is really important, so pay attention. The internet is a thrilling landscape full of hundreds, thousands, millions of things and websites to explore. Different apps, different people from all over the world. But it can also be a scary place, full of bugs, viruses, trolls, people who don't exactly want to see you happy. If you choose the dialogue box, you'll end up returning to that subject anyway. Instead of finding the firefly right away, she'll start telling a story about an internet friend she met online. Someone who made Milk-chan feel special. Someone who found a way to break through the digital facade and reach her. But just as she started her story, a firefly makes its presence known. It seems like it's trying to get our attention. It's analytical, methodical. It reflects and thinks critically. And of the story she was telling earlier, looks like we're gonna have to wait a little bit for that. But unbeknownst to us, that alternate path we just took in the dialogue just opened up the option for the second death. But before that, there's still one last item to cover. Of course, I haven't covered every single interactable item in the game, but that's just for brevity's sake and because it would take forever. So I decided to stick to the ones that I found to be the most important. Now, the dosage notes. You'll see them hanging on the wall next to the sink and mirror. It causes a deep unease in Milk-chan. That's not her handwriting either. That's someone else's. Her mom. Milk-chan lets out a deafening scream that rustles the dosage notes. It also lays witness to the firefly hiding underneath. Like clockwork, it flies up and enters Milk-chan's ear. And it looks like this one she's eager to move past. So, we've found all the fireflies. What next? Well, let's finish searching. It looks like we managed to gather all of her thoughts, but something still isn't quite right. If you're finding something that was lost, what is truly gained? What does she get from all of this? It'll only go back to the way it was, and we'll have to find our thoughts all over again. Is that what all of this is really about? Breaking the cycle? Breaking the repetition? While we reflect on that, maybe we should head to bed. And before we move on to the next part, I think I'm going to change up the music a little bit. Something that suits this next part a little better. All reliable. Anyways, back to the video. Before sleeping though, we get the option to step outside for some fresh air. She doesn't seem to think it's a good idea, but if you select the option, there's no way someone cares about you that much. Harsh. She reluctantly agrees. That should happen, I think. The apartments on the inside look nothing like on the outside. Like a long, endless tube of concrete that spirals down infinitely. She must feel incredibly isolated. It's no surprise then that this environment does not help any conditions Milk-chan might have. If you remember the split path I was talking about earlier, she actually mentions coming up with a code word to remember to tell her story later. She made a promise, and now she has to keep it. Milk-chan bends down and imagines falling into the cold, empty abyss below. Free falling. No, but seriously, this is like genuinely a cinematic masterpiece. Milk-chan has now entered into what is known as the second death. And it's in this second death that we hear the rest of her computer tale. Why did she end up getting so close to this individual online? And why doesn't she touch a computer with a 10-foot pole? Just like before the death, she explains that he made himself appear real. He started to paint a picture of a life outside of her own. He expected her to do the same, and that was hook, line, and sinker. He knew more about her than even her own parents, and he used it to take advantage of her, completely demolishing their trust. She was already dealing with paranoia, anxiety, depression, but this amplified it to a degree I can't even imagine. So she decided to pull the plug, for good. She crashes down to the ground suddenly, and that's where her story ends. We've experienced her second death. Now it's time to go back inside. So that's it. That's most of the main game content, which just leaves the 5 endings that we have yet to talk about. And like I said earlier, depending on what items you choose, how many fireflies you get, and what deaths you experience determines which ending you'll get. We can first start with ending 1, or the ending that's the most commonly achieved. And it's also the ending that I got upon playing for the first time. In the guide I was following, it said that in order to achieve this ending, you must experience the first death, experience the second death, and collect 3 fireflies. Or experience the first death, second death, and collect all 5 fireflies. However, there have been numerous different combinations found via the community and by the author. So there's a lot of different combinations to get this ending, which makes it the most common. Milk-chan has a favor to ask of us, but she's too afraid to tell us what it is. Whenever we ask, she starts to get anxious. Lying down now, Milk-chan explains that she had some pretty severe insomnia that even started to bleed into her everyday life, seeing things like strange figures, floating letters, even sets of eyes. I don't know about you, but that sounds absolutely fucking terrifying. Then one day, it all came to a head, and she nearly met her end. After her near-death experience, she was able to sleep again, but the silhouettes, letters, and eyes stayed there regardless. After a poor game of charades, it's revealed that Milk-chan's request is for a bedtime story. Once we finally agree, she drifts off into a deep sleep. We wake up in a dream, in a familiar setting. Again, if you haven't watched or played the first game, then this setting won't quite make as much sense to someone who has. So if you haven't, I'll put the links down below for the first and second game, so you guys can try it out. They're pretty cheap. What's different about this time is that we see a boy, an unfamiliar face, but a face nonetheless. He seems to recognize Milk-chan, like they've encountered before. We find out the boy's name is Tresca, and he seems to have a lot more knowledge on the situation than Milk-chan currently does, even referencing a they that told him everything there is to know. We're apparently obligated to guide Tresca to the store. Now, if you've played the first game, you might already have an inkling of what's going on here. All I'll say for now is that whenever Tresca says that refusal is futile, he isn't exactly lying about it, or being overconfident. While Milk-chan is being a little overcritical here, I do kind of see her point when it comes to Tresca's personality. Once again, drawing back similarities to the first game, Tresca in this game and Milk-chan in the last game are very similar. They both have spontaneous and at times naive personalities, which is in stark contrast with Milk-chan in this game. I honestly really love Tresca and Milk-chan's dynamic in this little sequence. Tresca acts so obnoxiously and Milk-chan is just like ready to beat the ever-loving shit out of him. But yeah, they decide to enter the store after realizing that it's closing very, very soon. After they enter the store, they quickly find themselves getting lost. Tresca decides to ask for help from a customer on where to buy milk. As soon as he asks though, something bad happens. He freezes in place, supposedly out of fear. It's like Tresca has a spell put on him. He's frozen in place, with his mouth agape and his eyes bulging wide. It seems like Tresca has trouble socializing, and once he finally calms down, things get much worse as Tresca starts having a panic attack, with Milk-chan desperately trying to calm him. Instead of comforting Tresca, Milk-chan makes it much worse by making it his problem that he had a panic attack, which is definitely not something you want to do. As a result, Tresca runs away. Milk-chan finds him at the cash counter, checking out with a bag of milk. Or I guess a carton of milk in this case. False advertising, SMH my head. Tresca is like constantly verbally harassed by these customers and cashier workers. I don't really understand where all the hostility is coming from, directed towards just a little innocent boy. The cashier tells Milk-chan to just leave Tresca at home, and the customer earlier is really aggressive for no reason. Not only that, the cashier continues to harp on Tresca, calling him a word that I wish not to repeat. In a fit of rage, Milk-chan throws cash at the cashier and storms out with Tresca. The group spends a prolonged period in silence. When Tresca finally decides to speak up, Milk-chan shuts it down. Without a second thought, Tresca turns away and heads toward the highway, with his back facing away from Milk-chan. What exactly is he planning? It seems like you're not helping me at all. I refuse to take another pill. I refuse to be weighed down by you any longer. Our pain is one and the same. And there you have it. That's milk outside a bag of milk outside a bag of milk. Well, the first ending anyway. There's 4 other endings in conjunction with this one. I don't want to waste any more time because this video is already like really long, so I'll just jump right in. Just like before, we crawl up into our sleeping bag and skip through all the dialogue. After we drift off to sleep, things seem a little different than last time. Now, to achieve this ending, all you have to do is not experience the first death, not experience the second death, collect 3 fireflies, and collect this small little phone paper thingy in the bottom right corner. This ending is only composed of basically a slideshow of images containing Milk-chan on her phone. The text appearing on the right seems to be dialogue directly from text messages. A lot of what she's saying is kind of just a dump of every single thought she's ever had in her entire life to this one poor pizza worker on the other end. She talks about being alone, her different, ideologies on certain things, her imagination, the ceaseless void, you name it. She has something to say to this pizza guy, something to voice about her opinions and thoughts. Even though she's not getting a helpful answer back, she still takes every opportunity she can to talk with the silence on the other end. It's like a coping mechanism for her. By the time she does finally get to the pizza establishment, the worker is already thoroughly freaked out, which, I can't blame the guy. He didn't ask to be vented to, but if it helps our main protagonist, I'm all for it, honestly. For the shit she's had to go through, I am totally okay with her just venting into some random automated message system. Milk-chan describes feeling neutral, like nothing she does impacts the world around her, and everything around her impacts her at the same time. It's neither empty nor full. She's all alone, but at the same time, it feels like she's not. Everything she does is null. She's only wasting time. She doesn't fill the void, she's a part of it. She keeps expressing the sentiment that she doesn't care about the empty space. She feels neither good nor bad, which is bad, in my opinion. This just further exemplifies Milk-chan's mental decay. the path she's going down if she doesn't receive mental help in some form. She's making friends with ghosts. Session timeout, please reload the page. Just like that, her lifeline is cut from its cord. This is where the dream ends, feeling lost, alone, and with no one else to talk to. A true nightmare. This next ending will require you to pick up 3 fireflies. That's it. No first death, no second death, just 3 fireflies. This is a little bit random, but this ending kinda reminds me of a game called LiDAR on Roblox. It's a game where you need to scan your surroundings without actually seeing what's around you. LiDARs are actually real pieces of equipment used by radar technicians every day. Now, why did I feel the need to share this information with you? Well, I don't know. Maybe it was a distinctive visual choice by the author of this game. Blah 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 darkness, blah 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 isolation, you get the picture. Wait, darkness? Dark? Animator dark? Anyways, back to the actual ending narrative. A stairwell, never ending, coils around a large pillar like a snake. It's what some call vertigo, not being able to tell up from down. Not to mention time doesn't seem to follow reality's rules. At any moment she could fall to her impending doom, into the black, ceaseless void. The existential weight of it all eventually comes into the forefront of your mind. You can't move, you can't think, you can't even breathe normally. Your body is as stiff as a board as the wind tries to escape from around you, coaxing you to join it in the endless abyss below. Time moves, but we do not. Is it the pillar that's shaking, or is it us? Maybe it would be best if we could just turn our head. Then, suddenly, our body seems to move on its own. We slowly turn around. Without our consent, we involuntarily glimpse into the void below. Amongst the silence sings a lonely colossus, unmoving, until the music stops. The bridge across the dark abyss cannot be seen. A structure of megalithic proportions protrudes out of the darkness, with thousands, hundreds of thousands of pillars just like the ones we saw before. I think this is what's called megalophobia. Being afraid of something so large, so monolithic in proportion, that it leaves the afflicted completely paralyzed. Voices echo at the edge of oblivion. The superstructure is vast, yet it feels like a cage at the same time. You can only move in the 4 basic cardinal directions. If you look closely, you'll notice this next section is in quotes. Something referencing characters Wozzeck and Mendel. Wozzeck is a German opera by Alan Berg, composed between the years of 1914 and 1922, premiering in 1925. It has a lot of themes about militarism, callousness, social exploitation, and casual sadism. Based on the time period it was written in, around World War I, it makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna keep this fairly brief because this is a game review and not a book club presentation. The quote in the game directly references how Wozzeck constantly finds himself committing crimes and then subsequently being caught. Whenever a character, Margaret, notices blood on his hands and elbow, everyone begins shouting at him, causing him to get agitated and running out. He repeats this pattern of behavior over and over throughout the story. Mendel could be a reference to the German geneticist Gregor Mendel, as there's no actual character named Mendel in Wozzeck. I think the only conclusion I can draw from this portion of text in this ending is maybe Mendel walking out on stage for the first act to begin is a reference to life itself. The grace and hidden elegance of genetics, passed down from generation to generation, influence the way that humans look today. In the context of milk outside of a bag of milk, I can't really understand why this has any significance. Maybe the repetition of Wozak continuously being found out is some sort of allegory for Milk-chan, constantly waking up each day from the same pain. It's a stretch, I know, but it's really all I have to work on here. I guess the next lines of dialogue clears some stuff up. Maybe these are just foreign thoughts invading Milk-chan's mind. This next disconnected quote sort of reminds me of something a therapist might say. I also didn't really bother checking if this is from anything, just because, I don't want to do another Wozak. I think I'm good. It talks about how fear can manifest in the body and disconnect your being. How does one control their fear and confusion if they don't know the source? Milk-chan decides to descend deeper into the abyss, an endless stairwell deeper into the caverns of the mind. Again, probably another line from a book or another piece of literature, but I really couldn't bother. It seems like it's about anxiety and how it can instill paranoia. It can tear the mind apart, sowing seeds of discomfort and distrust. Again, it sounds like a therapist talking, trying to rewire Milk-chan into a better version of herself. I don't doubt that you're going through some hard times, but you have to make sacrifices. Grow up. Which is an insane thing to tell someone, honestly, especially from a therapist perspective. I suppose it could also be a parent or some sort of authority figure. It's almost like an inner conflict between Milk-chan and someone else. The two halves of her brain are at war. These might not be quotes from anywhere, maybe only in Milk-chan's mind. Conversations of other people from distant past. Vicious inner monologue that torments Milk-chan, causing her mind to spiral into the dark, deep abyss. Wasn't that a happy ending, full of sunshine and rainbows? Well, it doesn't get better. We have 2 endings left to go, one of which is a lot shorter, so I'm gonna be covering that one first. Milk-chan drifts off to sleep just like last time. Unlike last time, Milk-chan is in front of a mirror. In order to achieve this ending, all you need to do is collect all 5 fireflies. That's it. No first or second death needed. Another terrible morning. Milk-chan wakes up for her first day of school. With a dose of self-consciousness, it's time to start the morning. Also noting the fact that Milk-chan's had other terrible mornings prior to waking up for school. And I think everyone can relate on not wanting to be seen as lame or stupid looking. And though it'll soon change, she really doesn't look stupid looking. She looks normal as far as I can tell. Maybe her perception of herself is warped in some way. She answers her mom's request to hurry up, and a new scene plays out. As much as I want to laugh looking back at it, I was really confused when I first saw this. The morning loops again. Everything is the same. The setting, the dialogue, except for Milk-chan herself. She appears distorted in some way. It's like she doesn't even recognize anything is wrong. The next scene plays out similarly. Milk-chan's neck is twisted and contorted in an unnatural way. At least it's her self-image that appears this way. Her actual physical body is untouched. Why does she view herself in such a twisted light? And it only gets worse from there. Completely expressionless and void of emotion, still seeking to mask her inner turmoil. Darling, your face is gone. Weird, snaky hair. The text repeats the same. Now there's an expressionless version of herself behind her. A lot of stuff with her eyes, honestly. Maybe it has to do with the windows of the soul or something weird like that. On the last one though, the dialogue does change. Somehow even more expressionless than just having a hole for a face. She remarks how everything's wonderful and she can't wait for her first day at school. Now she only looks back at herself. Is she even still herself after all she's been put through? After all the mental trauma she's endured? Can she still put her past behind her? I don't know, I'm just watching this unfold. Same as you guys, I'm just along for the ride. And now, the ride is almost over. We're at the final ending. Just like last time, Milk-chan closes her eyes. This ending is experienced by only doing the second death, but not the first, and collecting 4 fireflies. Milk-chan wakes up on the cold floor in a small, dark room. The room is barren except for one door with a small light peeking through the eye hole. Muffled sounds can be heard on the other side. Already, the room feels like a cold, claustrophobic cage. The emptiness of the room and the faint blue glow from the door only adds to the sense of isolation. An inhuman roar can be heard from the other side of the door. It gets louder and louder. Something is approaching. Milk-chan is trapped with no way out, no way of escaping the situation. A pause in the wrathful roar gives Milk-chan a moment to breathe. She decides to stand. The room feels like a moving organism. It adjusts and adapts to Milk-chan's movements. Just like a fly trap, the room reacts to the prey caught inside, and it's clear to us that there's no escape. Grammar mistake, haha, cancelled, Besides the grammar mistake, the first thing that really jumps out at me about this scene is the image of Milk-chan reaching into the ceaseless void above, comparing the room she resides in as a dark coffin, even though it's ever expanding. It's another one of those time paradoxes, like in one of the previous endings. In the end, it's only the door that remains unchanged. Its presence is like a looming shadow. It has horrifying implications on the other side. But now, what other choice does Milk-chan have? She reaches out to touch the door, and of course, it moves away too. Nothing would be that simple as escaping. But since it's the only source of light, Milk-chan desperately tries to catch it. Even lunging at the door proves to be ineffective. Stupid door! It's funny, irrational hatred towards the door. It's like the door is sentient, mocking Milk-chan for failing. Now, the hatred seems rather rational, given the situation. She doesn't stop screaming, even for a second. Hey, I can hear you. A voice can be heard from the other side of the door. I'm here, come closer. Milk-chan screams even harder than before, only wishing to reach the voice on the other end of the door. She stumbles towards the door, always just inches out of reach. Maybe one last final push is all she needs. She hits the ground with immense speed, leaving a trail of viscous red blood, her hand still outstretched in midair. Milk-chan wails in agony. Tears stream down her face. Her scratches burn, but that's nothing in comparison to the rest of her injuries, and the dread of knowing that she failed. But all hope isn't lost just yet. A voice can still be heard from the other side of the door. Even if there's a shred of hope still left, Milk-chan grasps it with both hands. Despite everything, she pushes on, even though she faces trial after trial. She won't rest until she reaches that voice. The voice of reason, of tolerance, of acceptance, of comforting. As long as she hears that voice, she won't stop running, and she's so close to success. I'm not really sure if this next dialogue is coming from Milk-chan, or the voice, or something inside of her head. I don't really know, but it seems like it could be some sort of inner turmoil, an interaction playing out in Milk-chan's mind. Ignoring all the pain she's endured, she leaps towards the door one last time. Maybe part of her wants to stay stuck down here, away from the outside world. Maybe change is scary. Maybe it's all happening too fast. She's outside now, lying down in damp grass. I love the way wind is illustrated here. It feels like it's from a fairy tale. Even Milk-chan's presence feels rude in the wake of such marvelous nature. I also like the sly reference to Milk-chan being colorblind here. I thought that was really funny. Now outside of the confined space, she's faced with the complete opposite, a vast endless plain with a wide open sky, void of any stars. The visual of the moon in the night sky has appeared before. It's actually a prominent symbol in this series, and I think it's poetic that it appears again here. A sound can be heard off in the distance. She can't exactly tell what it is or where it's coming from, only that it seems to be drawing closer. And wolves definitely don't make that noise. Milk-chan jumps up in a panic, trying to find out where the noise originated from. The noise calls back in response, echoing an eerie tune. "Hey, I can hear you." Milk-chan's voice fades into the sounds of nature around her. It seems almost completely muffled out, but there's that echoey noise once again. I want to also mention that we haven't only seen these visuals before, but we've heard this echo before as well. The "oh" from the customer in the convenience store in the first game, it's a similar echo chamber to what we have here, except for Milk-chan can't pinpoint the source of the noise. Is it appropriate to run? Should she be hiding? Maybe it's a wail of distress. Through wafts of silence, a painful scream can be heard in the distance. The screams morph into a cry, which could prove our distress theory correct. A small dark silhouette can be spotted in the distance. It appears completely immobile, but the noise is coming from that direction. I find it interesting that the noise seems to be morphing over several different definitions by the time we spot the origin. Are you hurt? No, Milk-chan, you're hurt. Do you not remember the sequence where you slid on your face for 30 meters? The figure gives no reaction. Milk-chan tries rationalizing. Maybe it's the wind or a tree. I mean, I think that's very clearly human-shaped, but, you know. She walks away disappointed for some reason. She seemed pretty terrified earlier. When she turns around, though, she notices that the spot doesn't get smaller. The once gentle and playful grass now leaves cuts and lacerations on Milk-chan's ankles. Over time, this field has started to show its anomalous properties. Her paranoia overwhelms her to where she's certain that the figure is chasing after her, that some sort of malevolent force is trying to stop her in her tracks. Finally, Milk-chan stops dead in her tracks. The voice is now directly behind her. She clumsily falls to the ground, forced to bear witness to whatever's chasing her. It's time to confront her demons. Milk-chan picks herself up, but the figure is still just as distant as before. Nothing has changed. It's almost more unsettling the way that the figure strikes such fear without even lifting a finger. Well, that's all short-lived because the figure clearly moves closer to Milk-chan, making new terrifying noises. All the while Milk-chan stands in fear, paralyzed. Finally, she breaks the tension. "You're scaring me. Go away," she says. Milk-chan describes the entity as a black spot, which grows rapidly, covering the night sky. Now, closer than ever, Milk-chan realizes the trouble she's in. It howls in the same eerie manner as before. She desperately tries to escape the clutches of the dark creature, but it soon becomes apparent the finality of her situation, the darkness that consumes everything. I wake up on the cold floor, in the center of a cramped room. I look around without standing up. There's no furniture, just naked walls. I like that one. Probably not as much as the other ones, but that one was cool. I enjoyed it. And there you have it. That is all of the endings, finally. I'm gonna go over some of my thoughts on the different endings and what I think of the story overall. The first ending felt the most complete to me. It also was my favorite overall. It also felt like a natural progression to the story beforehand, like a official canon ending, rather than just filler. Not to say necessarily that the other endings felt like filler, but they didn't feel like they had anything to do with the main story. I also really like Milk-chan and Tresca's dynamic during the whole short. It felt natural, like a younger brother and an older sister. It also harkens back to the first game, now with Milk-chan as the counteractive drug instead of the player. The second ending is a little more up to interpretation, with Milk-chan forming a toxic dependency towards a figment of her imagination, or an unwilling participant. Both are equally unhealthy. It's clear she's dealing with some form of existentialism, dread, and loneliness in this sequence. I feel like I can relate to being scared of loneliness and drowning in responsibility. It's a common young adult feeling to be scared of the future and what comes next. And that's why you should find the best methodology for coping with your feelings and finding a good support system that works for you. The next ending has a lot of different fears wrapped up into one. To sum up this ending in a few words, it would probably be long, confusing, convoluted, terrifying, historic, and of course, I will say, visually speaking, I like this ending the most. It gives me sort of like a primal fear of when I was a child with like a static running TV or something. Couple that with the amazingly horrifying imagery, and yeah, you can see why this ending is pretty good. It has the most creative environmental storytelling by far in an ending I've seen. I think the next ending is the easiest to understand, and it's also the simplest and shortest. The premise and context are pretty easy to decipher. It's just Milk-chan getting ready for school. It doesn't exactly stay that way though. Milk-chan sees twisted reflections of herself in the mirror, hinting at some sort of ugly counterpart, a twisted self-image that she sees herself as. And I know I used the word twisted before, but like, look at that. It's literally twisted. This final ending is, in a way, similar to the third. It personifies Milk-chan's fears and amplifies them inside her head, creating illusionary images and scenarios, like a gauntlet she needs to fight through to get to the end. I toyed with the idea of agoraphobia for this one. Agoraphobia, for those who don't know, is basically just a fear of leaving your house or a comfort zone and being out in the open, or vulnerable in some sense. I know it kind of seems contradictory to the fact that Milk-chan kind of the whole time wanted to escape her confined space, but once she does, it's like the lights are switched on, to reveal an even greater fear than darkness.
Me, I'm the most terrifying thing in the universe of milk.
You know, I planned on this video being like 45 minutes long, right? That's a little longer than 45 minutes. But hey, you know, if you made it all the way to the end, congratulations. Here's your medal, here's your milk. But this video took a lot of work, so if you could show some support, either by liking the video or subscribing or doing whatever you want to do, that'd be awesome. That would show me that you want to see more, you know, videos like this, and it would help me out. So thank you. I also want to give a massive shout out to BooperDooper. They helped with the stills in making this video, and it quite literally wouldn't have been the same without it, so massive thanks to them. We also did a collaboration on their channel, so if you want to check that out, the link is down in the description, and so will the Steam link for this game, so make sure you check it out. It's super worth it. I think it's like $3, so yeah, totally worth the money, obviously. But yeah, without further ado, bye bye.